The morning sun filtered through the windows of Maple Street Café, casting warm shadows across the polished wooden tables. Sarah Bennett, an elegant woman in her early 50s wearing a striking red blazer, stood at the counter with her phone in hand, trying to order her usual coffee. Behind her, little Emma Chun, no more than 7 years old, watched curiously from beside her father, David. The girl's braided hair swayed as she tugged on her father's navy sleeve. The young barista, Tyler, grew visibly frustrated as Sarah pointed at the menu without speaking. "Ma'am, I need you to tell me what you want," he said, his voice rising with impatience. "Just say out loud like everyone else." Sarah's fingers moved gracefully, forming shapes in the air that Tyler didn't understand. Her expression remained calm, though a hint of sadness flickered in her eyes. "Is she serious right now?" Tyler muttered to his co-worker. "This is ridiculous. We have a line of people waiting." Other customers began shifting uncomfortably. An older man in the corner shook his head. A woman whispered to her companion. The cafe, usually filled with friendly chatter, grew tense with judgment. Sarah reached for a napkin and pen, but Tyler had already turned away. "If you can't order properly, maybe you should go somewhere else," he said dismissively. That's when Emma stepped forward. The little girl walked right up to Sarah, her small face bright with recognition. Her hands began moving in fluid, deliberate gestures. Sarah's eyes widened with surprise and relief. Her hands responded, moving in the same beautiful, silent language. David Chin approached, placing a gentle hand on his daughter's shoulder. "I'm so sorry for confusion," he said, his voice firm but kind. "This woman is deaf. She's been trying to communicate through sign language." The cafe fell completely silent. Tyler's face flushed red. I didn't know. I just thought." "You thought she was being difficult," David said quietly. "My daughter Emma lost her hearing in an accident when she was 4. We've been learning sign language as a family ever since." She recognized immediately what was happening. Emma continued signing with Sarah, their hands dancing in conversation. Then Emma turned to barista. "She wants a medium cappuccino with almond milk," the little girl said clearly, "and she's been coming here every Tuesday for 3 years." The weight of those words settled over everyone present. David looked around the cafe at the watching faces. Sarah Bennett isn't just any customer. She's a successful architect who designed half the buildings in this town. She donated the funds for the new children's library. She volunteers at the community center every weekend. He paused, his voice growing softer but more powerful. She doesn't need to explain herself to anyone, but maybe we all need to remember that silence has many reasons, and kindness costs nothing. Tyler stepped forward, his eyes glistening. "Mrs. Bennett, I am deeply sorry. There's no excuse for how I treated you." Sarah smiled gently and signed something. Emma translated. "She says everyone makes mistakes. What matters is what we do after." The cafe owner, Margaret, emerged from the back. "Sarah, your coffee is on the house today and every day from now on. And Tyler, I think we need to arrange some training for all our staff." An elderly woman from a corner table approached. "I've seen you here before, dear. I'm ashamed I never tried to communicate. Would you teach me a few signs?" One by one, other customers came forward. Some apologized. Some asked questions. Some simply wanted to learn how to say hello and thank you in sign language. David watched as his daughter continued chatting animatedly with Sarah. "Emma lost her hearing in a car accident," he said to the gathering crowd. "It was the hardest thing our family ever faced, but she taught us something important. That different doesn't mean less. That silence can speak volumes. That understanding requires effort, not judgment." Sarah pulled out her phone and typed a message, showing it to everyone. "I've faced this situation countless times. But today was different because a 7-year-old girl had more compassion than most adults. She reminded me why I keep showing up, keep trying, keep believing in human kindness." Emma beamed, signing something to Sarah that made the elegant woman laugh silently, her shoulders shaking with genuine joy. Margaret brought out Sarah's perfectly made cappuccino. "From now on, we're putting up a sign that says, 'We welcome all forms of communication.'" and we're starting sign language classes for our staff next week. Tyler approached Sarah again. Mrs. Bennett, I know I can't undo what happened, but I'd like to be the first to sign up for those classes, if you'll let me learn from my mistake. Sarah nodded graciously, her hands moving in response. Emma translated. She says the bravest thing anyone can do is admit they were wrong and choose to grow. David picked up his daughter, holding her close. 3 years ago, when Emma lost her hearing, I thought our lives were over. I was wrong. Our lives just became different, deeper, more intentional, more aware of how we communicate love and respect. An older gentleman in a tweed jacket spoke up from his table. I'm 72 years old, and I've lived in this town my whole life. Today, a child taught me that wisdom isn't about age. It's about openness of heart. Sarah typed another message. My silence isn't my weakness. It's taught me to see what others miss. The kindness in a child's eyes, the courage in an apology, the beauty in people willing to learn. As the cafe returned to its normal rhythm, something had fundamentally changed. People spoke more softly. They paid more attention. They looked each other in the eyes. Emma and Sarah sat together at a small table by the window, hands moving in animated conversation, their laughter, one silent, one ringing, blending into something beautiful. David watched them, remembering all the times he'd felt helpless as a single father, wondering if he was doing enough. Today, he understood that he'd done the most important thing any parent could do. He'd taught his daughter that compassion speaks louder than words ever could. Sarah finished her cappuccino and stood to leave, but before she did, she gathered everyone's attention one last time. Her hands moved slowly, deliberately as Emma translated. Thank you for this reminder that one small act of kindness can change everything. That one child compassion can open hearts. That we're all just trying our best to be understood. The cafe erupted in applause. As Sarah walked toward the door, Tyler called out. She turned. He signed slowly, carefully, the gestures clumsy but sincere. Thank you. See you next Tuesday. Sarah's smile lit up the entire room. David took Emma's hand as they left shortly after. Outside, Emma looked up at her father. Daddy, why do people forget to be kind? David knelt down to his daughter's level. Sometimes, sweetheart, people get so caught up in their own world that they forget to see others clearly. But you have a gift. You see people's hearts. That evening, the story spread to the small town. By morning, Maple Street Café had a line out the door, not just for coffee, but because people wanted to see the place where a little girl had reminded an entire community what really matters. Sarah Bennett returned the following Tuesday. This time, 3 staff members greeted her with signs. Tyler's gesture was still imperfect, but his smile was genuine. And in the corner, Emma Chin sat with her father, watching the scene unfold, her small hands ready to bridge any gap that silence might create. Because sometimes the most powerful stories aren't told with words at all. If this story touched your heart, please share, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of our shared humanity. Leave a comment below about a time when someone's kindness changed your perspective. Let's keep spreading compassion, one story at a time.